Hey everybody, C-Note here, and welcome to Dopamine. I am your host, Mr. Christian Rivera, aka C-Note, and this is a show all about mental health empowerment, and I tend to focus on typology and Myers-Briggs, along with specifically talking about INTPs with a lot of these videos on YouTube. So if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/dopamine and sign up for all the things below in the comments. Go check out what we have to offer. Today I want to talk about what is unique about individual INTPs. I'll think of a better title when I actually create the the thumbnail and stuff. But the idea is I want to talk about what makes each individual INTP unique. Because what I've had the privilege of being able to witness through comments, through the ability to start to build an INTP community, people coming to me asking questions, sort of sharing their opinion, sharing their perspective, is I get to see some of the patterns that are emerging in INTP behavior. And there are certainly a lot of things that are very common amongst INTPs, particularly the way that we use TI and NE, our first two functions. There are a lot of things that we have in common when it comes to the expressions of those functions, the search for objectivity, the subjective nature of our opinions, just the continued desire to help people through our information, and the playful side of us. We've got this compulsion to explore, to try new things, to try new ideas, and to, you know, take a different road on the street or whatever, to figure out something different, to experiment, to hypothesize, to think about the universe, to expand, all of that stuff. Those are all things that are pretty common amongst INTPs. But what makes an individual INTP unique from other individual INTPs? I think it all lies in our third and fourth functions, our introverted sensing and our extroverted feeling. So any personality type is going to have things built on top of their personality that allows for them to be a unique individual. So, you know, we're not just one of 16 types, and we're not destined by those 16 types. That's our base brain wiring. That is the way we are going to approach the world. That is the how and the why, basically, of why we are the way we are. But everything built on top of that, we still have very much influence from the outside world. Influence from our own experiences, influence from the people that we care about. So when I talk about introverted sensing, which I'll put a card up there about introverted sensing, there is a video that I've done both about introverted sensing and extroverted feeling that you should go check out. We also have a playlist called Are You Really an INTP? That is a way of sort of trying to figure out through a description of INTPs if it resonates, especially coming from an INTP, because I am an INTP. So introverted sensing is all about our sense of tradition, our own personal past, our own things that we care about, things that we ritualize, things that are important to us based on our upbringing. So for me, for example, I get confused a lot as being an ENTP, or sometimes even being an INFJ, depending on what kind of video I'm doing, because of how animated I can be, how like uppity I am in this very controlled environment. and what's important to know about my story is that my father is an ESFJ. So I have a lot of training from him around extroverted feeling. He's also a sales guy, so I have a lot of training about being an entrepreneur, around being a salesperson, about vibing and connecting with people. I'm still not naturally great at it, but there's a lot of things I've learned from him that have gone into my own individual growth as a person. So that has been important to me as part of my path and what comes out in my personality as an INTP. So there are also circumstances where you're from is an important part of that as well, whether it's your country of origin, your city, state, etc. So I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that's why I've got a little bit of that's, you know, I'm definitely softened since I've moved. I moved away from Philadelphia 10 years ago, but I go back to visit and I definitely kind of feel where my roots are. When I get very aggressive or assertive and being able to kind of speak up and be very, that comes from the Philly roots side of me. You know, all of the dopamine and the hip hop aspect of everything, sort of the soul vibe, that is all from my origin point of being from Philadelphia. So that individual aspect of me goes into the things that I do, the things that I create, the way that I speak. So it's not me just trying to focus specifically on information, but how can I color and paint the information in a way that includes charm. You know, the charm kind of comes from your origin point. The charm comes from where you came from, your influences, everything that you've appreciated over your life. You know, whether that's music, movies, the friends that you hung out with when you were younger, if you had some. I'm sure you did. Don't pretend like you didn't. And you know, the people that you surrounded yourself with. You know, some of us have had more difficult circumstances than others, and it kind of forces us to go into our dominant space. But part of integrating the other aspects of our personality is not necessarily raising those inferior ships, the SI and the FE, to be a dominant part of your personality, but it's something you check in with enough that allows for individual expression. It allows for the individual opportunity for someone to see where you came from, to see what you bring to the table from your experiences. So it's not just about searching for any bit of objective information, because any INTP can do that. It's not about just what any INTP is going to look for. It's about what has resonated and sparked from your story. So there are INTPs that focus on music, and they look for the objective universal laws around music, or certain types of creativity, or engineering, or building, which are the same thing, but or doing, you know, philosophy, or doing what I'm doing, talking about typology and mental health stuff. You know, a lot of my story is centered around mental health. So my personal mental health, my struggles with my father, my struggles with my upbringing, with being in Philadelphia, with my cyclothymia, with ADHD, with now recognizing that I'm also a highly sensitive person, which I'll talk about in a future episode. All of those things have become this YouTube channel. All of this has become my podcast. All of this is becoming what I'm turning into, what I'm hoping is my destiny of being able to help people one-on-one to improve their circumstances, especially INTPs who are experiencing very similar circumstances to me, because there are INTPs who are a sexual 5 on the Enneagram. There are INTPs who are HSP, who have ADHD, who have other things that they're dealing with, bipolar disorder, depression, like all sorts of things that people are dealing with, that if you can trace things back and find a through line in your life, you can start to learn how to give yourself forgiveness, as well as learn the individual aspects of your personality. So sometimes that is the case, where our struggles are what colors our personality, that helps us identify what is unique about us. You know, so sometimes if you have struggles in your life, or have had struggles in your life, that translates into creative expression. And that creative expression is going to come from like the quirky SI side of us, but then also the FE side of us, the extroverted feeling, what we're doing in service of the people that we care about. And who we care about is going to influence how we approach caring about them. You know, because once you start to learn what someone actually likes and cares about, you're going to start to approach different things. Your intuition is going to go in different directions. You're going to start to explore different things so that you can actually experience, you know, different objective laws of the universe, basically. So I'm kind of going in circles. I know this is going to be one of those episodes where it's like, you talked for 10 minutes, you could have said it in 2, but it's fine. Some people need more time. It's okay. So the idea here is just to remind you that oftentimes introverted sensing, even for ISTJs and ISFPs, or ISFJs and ISTJs, sorry about that, introverted sensing can often create a certain quirkiness in those people. So it can be hard to type those types if you don't know them very well, right? So it's the same thing with anyone who has SI in their stack. There's a little bit of individual quirkiness because of where you came from, your generation, where you're from, who your parents are, your gender and the culture that you grew up with based on that gender or genderless situation, whatever works for you, and basically the combination and the through line of what's been happening in your life. So I want you to think about that and let me know in the comments, what is it about your individual story that makes you unique as an INTP? Because it's not just about, again, the objectivity or finding the universal laws in the universe or anything like that. It's about what is important to you as an individual and how are you going to support your community as a result of that individual search for that objective thing, right? So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for watching, being here. We just passed 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. Keep letting your friends know about this, share this episode with them, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything about introverted sensing that is sticking out to you in your personal story that would be interesting for you to share. I would love to hear what's individual about you as an INTP. So we're basically focusing on supporting our Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/dopamine, that would allow me to continue to do these videos because I have to take on client work otherwise, and it's a lot of work. So to manage this and to manage client work is a lot, and I want to focus on this. So if you can help support the channel, go to patreon.com/dopamine. I'll also take ideas for unique content that you would like to see. Give little anecdotes, little side things. I will definitely give you the shout out on the YouTube channel if you support the Patreon. Molly Owens from Truity Labs is one of my Patreon subscribers. She's fantastic, so go check that out. And you can ask questions. So if you ask questions directly through the Patreon, I will probably answer them here on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. And that's basically it. So patreon.com/dopamine. There's other links to other signups and things below for Cosmic Calibration, which is the sort of premier program that we have for INTPs to help support and nurture growth for INTPs. And we have signups for email and all that stuff below too. So that's it. I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you next time on Dopamine. See ya.